What does a transistor do? At its most basic level, a transistor does two things. It acts as an electronic switch and it acts as an amplifier. Let us start with the switch function because it is the more intuitive of the two. Imagine a water pipe with a valve. A small amount of effort on the valve handle controls a very large flow of water through the pipe. Turn the handle slightly and you allow a trickle. Turn it fully and you allow full flow. Or close it entirely and no water passes at all. A transistor is an electronic version of that valve. A small electrical signal at the control input, called the base. In the most common type of transistor controls whether a large current can flow between the other two terminals, called the collector and the emitter. When a sufficient signal is applied to the base, the transistor switches on and current flows freely from collector to emitter. When no signal or too small a signal is applied to the base, the transistor switches off and no current flows. On, off, on, 1, 0. That is binary logic. That is the foundation of every digital circuit ever made. NPN transistors, the basics. The type of transistors we are describing is called a bipolar junction transistor, or BJT. The most common variety is the NPN transistor. NPN refers to how the transistor is constructed internally, layers of semiconductor material arranged in a specific way. You do not need to understand the semiconductor physics deeply right now. What matters is the behavior. In an NPN transistor, the base is the control terminal. A small current flowing into the base allows a larger current to flow through the transistor. The collector is where the main current enters. The emitter is where it exits. Think of the base as a gatekeeper. A small signal knocks on the gate. If the signal is strong enough, the gate opens and a much larger flow of current passes through from collector to emitter. This is why transistors are also amplifiers. The amplification function of a transistor is what made radio, television, and telephone technology practical. Here's the concept. A small, weak signal applied to the base produces a proportionally larger, stronger signal at the collector. The transistor takes a weak input and produces a strong output, and it does so continuously, tracking every variation in the input signal. This is how a microphone signal becomes powerful enough to drive a loudspeaker. The tiny electrical signal generated by a microphone diagram vibrating in the air is far too weak to drive a speaker. A chain of transistor-based amplifier stages takes that weak signal and amplifies it, step by step, until it is powerful enough to move a speaker cone and fill a room with sound. Every radio receiver, every Wi-Fi module, every guitar amplifier, every hearing aid, these devices depend on transistors as amplifiers. Now we come to perhaps the most profound application of transistors: digital logic. When you use a transistor as a pure switch, either fully or fully off, you have created a digital device. It represents one of two states, 1 or 0, true or false, on or off. Combine a small number of transistors in specific arrangements and you get logic gates, circuits that can perform logical operations. An AND gate, for example, only outputs a 1 if both of its inputs are 1. An OR gate outputs a 1 if either input is 1. These sound simple, and they are, but combine millions, 10 billions of these gates together, and you have a device capable of extraordinary computational complexity. Every instruction your computer executes, every pixel displayed on your screen, every song that streams through your earphones, all of it is ultimately a cascade of billions of transistors switching on and off in precisely coordinated sequences, millions of times per second. Short transistor, logic gate, processor diagram, zooming out from one transistor to a CPU. The CPU in your laptop performs billions of such operations every second. The processor in a high-end smartphone contains well over 10 billion individual transistors. Sit with that for a moment. 10 billion switches on a chip you can hold between your two fingers. How did we get from the transistors of the 1950s, which were individually assembled and about the size of a fingernail? Billions of transistors on a single chip. The answer lies in a process called photolithography, a technique for etching incredibly fine patterns onto a semiconductor material. Over decades, engineers progressively refined this process, making transistors smaller and smaller with each generation of chip manufacturing technology. In 1965, a co-founder of Intel named Gordon Moore observed that the number of transistors that could be placed on a chip seemed to be doubling approximately every 2 years as manufacturing techniques improved. This observation became known as Moore's Law, and for several decades it held remarkably true. The result of that doubling trend, sustained over 60 years, is staggering. In the early 1970s, first commercial microprocessors contained a few thousand transistors. Today's processors contain tens of billions. This miniaturization is why your smartphone, something that fits in your hip pocket, has more computing power than room-filling machines that once cost millions of dollars. Resistors got smaller. More of them could fit in the same space. And as they got smaller, they also got faster and more energy efficient. We are now reaching the physical limits of how small silicon transistors can be made. Some are only a few atoms wide. The industry is actively exploring new materials and new transistors architectures to continue the progress. But that is a topic for another lecture.